When I was searching about the heartland theory, I also came across the rimland theory. Won't having control over a majority of the rimland from Iran to parts of Thailand be India's best interest since we dream of being a superpower? Um, Once again, let's take a look at the map. So the rimland is this entire region, or for the region of Japan. No, Japan is the outlying islands, one of the outlying islands, but China, uh, Southeast Asia, and India. This is all the rimland. Yes. So the rimland, according to Mackinder, is vulnerable to the heartland power and the ocean power, which is US and NATO. So it's because it's exposed to both these major powers. Anyhow, that's the theory. Now, the rimland, I mean, if you look at China versus India, China is encircled by the three island chains. One island chain is the Japanese islands and Taiwan. Then you have the Philippines and the other islands, and then you have the Marianas and the third island chain. There are three island chains that essentially shackle China and prevent it from becoming a major naval power. And these island chains are controlled by the US. When it comes to India, there is no such constraint, right? So India is a rimland power. India has access. India occupies this god gifted commanding position over the entire Indian Ocean region. India has always been a maritime power for the past 10,000 years. Yes. So I think India should really focus on naval power and on naval aerial power as well. India has these unsinkable aircraft carriers, the Andaman and Nicobar Islands and the Lakshadweep Islands. We potentially also in the future could have a very excellent mutually beneficial relationship with Sri Lanka as well in the future. We have the Maldives as well, with which we could have the same kind of relationship. So India is potentially a great rimland power if it can create the economy that can sustain a major military that can sustain its strategic interests in this area. We don't need to occupy Iran and parts of Thailand, like you're mentioning. I mean, India has always been a major power without doing that. India in the past did indeed occupy the entirety of Southeast Asia up to the Philippines once, as far as we know in its history, which was about 1,000 years ago under the rule of the great Chola Empire, the Rajaraj and Rajendra Chola. But you don't have to conquer and occupy places like Iran, nations like Iran and Thailand. All you need to do is to have a good relationship with them, a good, mutually respectful, mutually beneficial relationship. In that case, we can have access to those parts of the rimland as well. So you don't need to have control over it, but you need to have access to it because of a good relationship with those nations. So yes, you are right. See, does India dream of being a superpower? Lots of people, I mean, in the comments I see it almost every day. When is India becoming a superpower? So yes, Indians are now aspiring. The Indian population, especially the youngsters, are now aspiring uh, to see the aspiration is to see India becoming a superpower soon, maybe in the next 20 years, maybe definitely within our lifetimes. Yes. Does the Indian leadership want to see India being a superpower? Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. There are no pronouncements as such from the leadership, and it is always wise uh, not to talk about your long-term ambitions and aspirations and hopes. Uh, but India's historical position has been of the world's largest economy for the past 10,000 years, essentially. And if you look at the study of the past 2,000 years from the what's his name, Angus Madison, right? So he published his very influential study of the world's economy in the past 2,000 years. And India, until the 1700s, was the world's largest economy. It accounted for at least a third of the entire world's GDP, right? And in the past, it would have been even more than that. So India historically has been always the number one economic power, and at times it's been the world's major military power as well, from in various times. For instance, during the Kushan Empire, later during the Gupta Empire, the Karkota Empire, the Chola Empire, and so on and so forth. So there have been times when India, and obviously the Mauryan Empire as well. So India is a potential superpower. India is definitely already, to some extent, a great power, one of the three or four great powers in the world, maybe the three great powers. And in the future, it could be a superpower if India plays its cards right And I would say that the key to becoming a superpower in the next 20 to 50 years is to focus on the maritime element, on the sea, on the rim. India is a rimland power. India commands the entire Indian Ocean. So India should leverage that God gifted position that it has. In that, if it does, then so India needs to invest in a powerful navy. India needs to develop the unsinkable aircraft carriers, which is the Andaman Nicobar Islands and the Lakshadweep Islands. And India should also invest in a powerful coast guard, in a powerful and extensive uh, merchant navy, which can serve a dual purpose. That's what the Chinese are doing. So learn from our adversaries.